much to say about the movie because
That's what I was thinking. It'd be a little bit shorter review.
Yeah,
Sure.
Just
sure.
because of that. If that's all right with you guys, it's all right with me.
Mm-hmm.
Mike and Nick and Alice reminds me of Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. I wonder if they which is a great late '60s movie. I think. I wonder if they took inspiration from that. Either way, this is totally random, but the last point I'll make, though, just like because I was looking through his filmography, just because I wrote kind of a brief feature piece on him this week on Grabinski, was he's got large gaps between his movies. He was a writer on the movie, which again, this is another movie that I don't think like 20 people saw. I did though. It was called Skip Trace with Jackie Chan and Johnny Knoxville. And then he went like 5 years between that, and then like 5 years between that to do Mike and Nick. And he was doing Scott Pilgrim at the time. I think one of the reasons though that like I was reading like just stuff that he's worked on. He was one of the writers, and I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like you would know this, Joe, or even you too, Dom. He was one of the writers on the prospective Adventure Time movie. I don't think they ever made one, did they?
They made specials on HBO. That's about it. But I don't think he's attached to them right now because I'm going through his whole thing.
He worked on the script for the actual movie, the theatrical movie that they were planning, and that never came to fruition. And I think that probably took like 2 or 3 years away from him, which sucks. That probably happens to writers and directors more than we know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if they zero in on a project that ultimately just doesn't go anywhere. But I'd be interested. This thing is set up for a sequel, too. This thing is set up for a sequel in so many words, and I don't want to... there would only be one Nick in the sequel, but there would be 2 of another character.
Yeah.
But we'll segue here, I guess, briefly. I don't think we'll have a ton to say. I don't even know what the hell I want to say. But we've made a running joke on this show that we're always a week or 2 late to our anniversary. Where it's like, oh crap, like last week was our 5th year anniversary show. We didn't mention it, so then we mention it in passing. Joe, to his credit, on our shared Google Doc, put on the schedule 6-year anniversary. So this is the 6-year anniversary of when we revived Sleepless on April Fool's Day, nonetheless, or this week rather. Isn't that a bitch? Because our first review, do we remember our first review on the show, on the Revive show?
It was a Pixar movie. It was the Journey or whatever the hell it's called.
It was
Onward.
Yeah.
Onward.
And that review was fun and just getting back into the groove of things. And I think, Joe, you can take us back with this clip.
I was just like, no, I was like, I know I told you I had stuff ready. I was like, I had stuff ready, but not like that.
Just turned into a clip show.
With this clip. Man, what a great time that was. That reminds me of the time where I did this on Sleepless.
Steve, okay, I think Steve just left, but my favorite gag with a clip show was, I think, the Clerks animated series, where episode 2 was just a clip show.
Clip show of episode 1.
Episode 2 was a clip show. And so they were just replaying things from the first episode. It was so funny.
Yeah. But no, man, I mean, we've been doing this for 6 years, and like you said, Onward was like the first movie. It was crazy that we chose to revive this during the pandemic. Well, I mean, it's not crazy. We were stuck at home. We needed something to do. So it was fun that weekly I got to hang out with you guys, but also, man, we just found movies to watch, some of which became some of my favorite movies of the 2020s. Dom, for you, Bad Education, we reviewed that in May of 2020. And like, let's be honest here, I don't know if I really would have known about that movie had it not been for us reviving Sleepless. That probably would have came to HBO, and I would have been like, whatever. Hugh Jackman's in something. And I ended up watching it and falling in love with it. The same can be said for me with The Five Bloods on Netflix. I probably would have checked it out at some point because it's a Spike Lee joint. But Palm Springs, I probably would have never watched Palm Springs. I probably would have been like, whatever. It's on Hulu. I'll watch it at some point. Hell, we have seen a movie that people can't even watch anymore on the streaming service, An American Pickle with Seth Rogen.
Yeah, right.
It's so funny going back through and seeing like, I don't remember the hell. Oh wait, I do remember this movie. This is a movie with Jamie Foxx called Project Power. I think like people like chew a pill and they get powers or something.
I remember that movie now. Yeah.
Like going through and seeing everything we reviewed in 2020 because like we couldn't go to the theater, so we just had to find something on streaming to review. It was really, it's really cool. Oh my god, we did review Artemis Fowl. Ugh.
Yeah, we did.
Jesus.
Oh my god.
Enola Holmes, Unpregnant. Unpregnant's also I don't think that movie's on there anymore.
It's so funny. Have we talked about this before? Where we didn't expect for the show to last this long online. So we've just been digging a deeper hole on that stupid list
Yeah.
where, okay, what's the latest movie this week? And we have to go all the way to the bottom because we didn't reverse order it. And
Well-
and it's not, honestly, we could probably just transfer it to Google Sheets,
Yeah.
which is just the spreadsheet version, and then reverse the order so it'd be easier. But I think it's funny. I think it's a good bit.
We have tabs now, so you can go by year. There's tabs now on the side. If you ever like can find where like your tabs is, if you're looking on a phone, I know it's weirder to see it on there, but if you don't mind, just zooming down like one big flick on your phone to go to like what we're gonna be reviewing. Oh my god, we reviewed Hillbilly Elegy on this show.
There's
Man.
there's so many movies I go back to because it used to be there's a time, and I might even use it for this one just for time constraints, where I've used the video review. I've cut the video review and just used that as my main review on my website too.
Yeah.
But I go back and I'm still like impressed with how much we've been able to cover on a mostly weekly basis. And the thing I have to remind myself too, like, you know, some of us are absent some weeks, of course it happens. Sometimes there's no show due to either technical things or just we're all off at the same time. And like going back and thinking about it, the grace afforded is just the fact that we started the show when there was literally nothing to do, like during the pandemic and everything. And it still felt like, you know, for us, a great way to stay connected. And it also felt like just a way to like work a little bit harder to find entertainment worth discussing.
Yeah.
And everything like that. Like, even if it was bad, it was noteworthy or something.
I was just telling Dom, I don't know if you were able to hear me, but like, you know, there were certain movies that I feel like I probably would have just never saw. Like one of them being Bad Education. I know that's like the third time we mentioned it tonight. But, like, that's probably something I would have not paid attention to because it was an HBO movie, and I was like, whatever, like, you know, who cares? Had 2020 not happened the way it did and theaters were still open, I probably would have been just seeing movies in theaters. A lot of these movies that went straight to streaming, unless if it was, like, and I brought up The Five Bloods as an example, I would have checked it out at some point because it's a Spike Lee joint, but something like Palm Springs, I might have blown that off, or The Assistant. I might have been like, whatever.
That was an easy one to miss.
Yeah, and there's movies that we've seen on this show that you cannot go on the streaming platform and view them anymore, like An American Pickle, Unpregnant, and Charm City Kings. Like, those movies just don't exist anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
I think they do. I think you can rent, at least An American Pickle, I think you can rent.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't they disappeared from the services on which they once belonged.
And you can rent Charm City Kings as well. It just sucks that, like, yeah, you have to, like, you wouldn't probably know about this movie because it's like, where the hell is it being promoted then?
Yeah, no, exactly. And like now, these movies were never released on DVD. Most of them were HBO Max movies because when Zaslav took over, they purged a good portion of the catalog. You know, now they're confined to like the bottomless pit of voodoo. So unless you've heard about it some way, or you're a fan of somebody in the movie, or you're a fan of the director, there's a good chance. Like, I feel bad for people who worked on like Charm City Kings or like An American Pickle, because the only way that you can see those movies now is by paying $3 or $4.99. There's no DVD, you know? So like to even be aware of them is hard. And it sucks too because all three of those movies, even Unpregnant was pretty good too. All three of those movies, those were good movies.
Yeah.
Like, those were good movies. It's not like fucking Artemis Fowl. But like,
Which is another movie I brought up. I'm like, oh, we reviewed that. Disgusting.
No, and we've had great Oscar shows. We've had great year-end shows as well, too, I think.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been remarkable, not only to sustain this, but just kind of the depths in which I'm always impressed when I go back or like am perusing through the schedule to like build on it, going back and being like, yeah, we covered that. I remember that review and things that.
The first show we did on YouTube was the best and worst of 2020. because we left Twitch to go to YouTube because we figured it would
Yep.
just be easier to keep everything under one umbrella rather than like having to edit it and then put it on YouTube later.
We I'm going through this list, and I'm part of me wants to like next year our 7-year anniversary on online, and probably 10-year anniversary as a brand. I don't know. I feel like we should do like top 5, bottom 5 worst, best and worst of all time
On
Of
Sleepless.
Sleepless?
on Sleepless.
I'm
'Cause
down,
there's some
dude.
stinkers on
That
here
sounds
I'm really
fun.
laughing about.
That sounds fun. Yeah, like because the show itself now this year is 10 years.
Yeah.
The show itself is 10
Oh,
years
to this year.
to
Okay.
this year.
Because yeah, you
But-
guys did it in 2016, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did it solo. I did it solo to start. So like
Got it.
like
Okay.
like
You count
the-
that. You can count that.
The real anniversary, I think, is like 2017 because that's when you came in, Joe. That's when the iteration of Sleepless as it's known really became. It's kind of like, what do you count The Simpsons on the Tracy Ullman show, or when it became its own show? That's kind of how I
Do
look
we
at it in
count
my
the off
mind.
year of Sleepless where, in 2019 there was no Sleepless with Steve anymore?
Yeah, that's called in film terms that's called dormancy.
Yeah, they tried to give Joe a spinoff, and then like,
Literally.
A backdoor pilot. Wait, Joe Viso did get a backdoor pilot with Variety Viso.
Variety
I
Viso,
did,
that's
yeah.
what he's talking about. Yeah, I was gonna.
I was making
say,
a Friends reference and like, yeah, real life.
I was gonna say we gave. When I left, he got the Cleveland show.
Yeah, there you go.
No Frasier, but you know what? It's fine.
I will never
would love
forget.
to
I
do
will
that.
never forget. By the way, at like 3 in the morning, when I had to DJ that summer after you left, because we did like only a couple reviews, and then like about halfway through the summer, you left to go do your first like official like career, and Dom, you were busy with your actual like career and everything, so it was just me in the studio from 12 to 6 a.m. on Wednesdays, and some guy called in, and he literally went, "Hey, where are the guys that talk about movies?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm one of them," and he's like, "Oh. Why don't you talk about movies?" I'm like, "That show's done, man." And he's just like,
That's
"Oh,
awesome, though. I never knew
that's
that.
cool.
or
I didn't know that
forgot
either.
About that. Yeah.
like, yeah." He called it. He didn't like say anything else. He's like, "Oh, it was just nice background noise to like have on in my house while I do work." Like, cause never watched anything
True
you guys
hallmark
talked
of a
about.
podcaster. Yeah.
No, that's awesome to hear stuff like that too. I mean, it's left an impression. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's been a continuous thing. And I'm super grateful, obviously, for you too, Joe. And Dom's had to host this show a handful of times, more than a handful of times too. You know what I mean? I show up and talk if I'm allowed to with Zoom, with how it works for me. I
Yeah.
show up and talk. You guys really put in a lot of the legwork and stuff like that, and and I really appreciate it. It doesn't go unnoticed too, because even when I go back and watch it or cut the clips or do whatever and stuff like that, the production of the show has just increased tenfold. So I'm eternally grateful to you guys too, continuing to want to do this, and take time out of your own busy lives right in the middle, dead center of your week too, and. Next week on the show, I guess this is a good pivot point. Next week on the show is the Super Mario Galaxy movie. So which will probably again be one of the biggest movies of the year. Definitely if the first one's any line of demarcation for this, because this just captivates multiple generations and such. We reviewed the first one on the show too, I remember.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how that movie's going to go. I don't have high hopes for it. I'm not rooting for it to fail. I never do on any movie, period. But I don't have the highest hopes for that. But I am curious to see how I'll feel about it. Yeah.
Same. And I don't have the connection to Mario that a lot of people do. I've played a handful of the games. I did not. I played more Sonic than I did Mario, and I played more Xbox than anything. You know what I mean? And PlayStation 2. So, I mean, the Mario game I'm still the most familiar with, if not the NES ones, is Double Dash. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I don't have the tangible connection to the series that a lot of other people do. But that'll be next week on the show. I really appreciate you guys as always putting in the work and everything like that, and really. 6 years, 10 altogether, pretty much. Like it's been a remarkable run, and it's going to continue. And it's always one of the high points of my week talking to you guys, so I greatly appreciate it. On that note, that is our show. Again, next week, Super Mario Galaxy movie. In the meantime, if you have Hulu or you want a free trial at Mike and Nick and Alice, definitely worth your time in all three of our opinions. Until next week, for Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.
live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.